protection on the military and the police across the country. I ask this in your sweet name. Amen.
Mr. Justice, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The July 19th, 2016 meeting of the Holmes County School Board will come to order. Our first item is the adoption of the agenda. Does the chair hear a motion to adopt the agenda?
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Williams,
Second.
second by Mr. Justice. Is there any discussion? Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cometz?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Motion carried. At this time, we have an update, I believe, from our construction team.
While Brooks is getting set up, let me give you a quick update. Greg Taylor, CRA, from the design point of view. We're working continuously on the school. We had a meeting a week or so ago. Technology discussed what we're looking at there. Touch panels are what looks like want to go with, probably something in the range of 75 to 80 inch touch panels per classroom. So that seems to be the technology we're looking at now. That very well could change before next summer. So as far as technology. Colors, selections, all that, we're working on those now, so there's still a lot of, even though we've got bricks and mortar going up, there's still a lot of decisions to be made, involving us. So I'll turn it over to Brooks now.
Now this video that I'm about to show you was actually done on June the 24th, so we're a little bit further along, of course, than we are what you'll see in here. But what you can see, a month ago, June 24th, we started our brick on the back side of the gym. You can see that the gym decking is going on there. We're actually going to get started on doing a roof installation on that portion of the building in the next week or so. The brick is now finished and it's working its way around the back side of the gym, and then we'll come around the front face of the gym and then the front face of the actual building. So about 2 weeks ago, the week after July 5th, we started setting the remaining trusses on that gym portion of the building, and we'll start decking that. So you'll start seeing that closing and dry in the building. The brick will then come around this way that the actual drone is moving forward. This area where the arrow is now is our second floor for the 1400 area, so that's classroom spaces. We're doing concrete columns and beams there. We have the right battles in the next few weeks approximately. This area here is the admin area. That is now completely decked for the second floor. I have my first concrete pour on the second floor there on Friday. So we'll be making some concrete pours on the second floor about 1 week for the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll actually start making more progress on that second floor. This back wing here that looks a little bit less unfinished there, we now have block there, and my concrete crews are moving there to start doing columns and beams. And I anticipate in the next 3 to 4 weeks we start setting some joists in that area. We also started doing some of our trusses in the cafeteria area where the arrow is right now, so we're starting to make that or form that roof area and dry that in as well too. So we're making good progress. I'm happy with the progress on the job. We've had done a little bit of rain over the weekend and last night, but I'm very pleased with the schedule. I also wanted to show you guys a video that I took of the roundabout. Bear in mind, this is about, a month ago. So right now that's the start of Highway 90. This is a flyover going towards it. We're starting to do our road base in there now. Curb and gutters for the actual roundabout. You can actually see the shape of it there. It's going to start today or tomorrow, depending on what the weather's going to do. But I feel really good as far as where we're at on that schedule. But this kind of shows you the layout of that roundabout and how that's going to take shape. This is forming off, going by the practice field on the right, the baseball field, going up to the front entrance of the school. It's about a half a mile into the school from Highway 90, so it's a pretty good bit. And then you can kind of see this is the actual road and how it will turn, And then you can see the building come into view on the right side there. But that's, so we're making good progress as far as that goes.
A lot of road and stacked cars. Parents coming in to drop them, a lot of room for them. Get them off at 9.
So next month, we'll be able to, you'll see a big difference when we have our meeting the first week of August, because the drone will come back the 28th. I'll film it again on the 28th, so you'll be able to see that progress. So I'm excited about showing that to you guys. One thing that I think we have on the agenda today for you guys to look at is the Phase 2 GMP. We didn't do the whole GMP for the funding. We had to get encumbered from the state legislature to move forward. So we put that second phase that we were funded over the July break, or the July, encumberment date. So we're ready to move forward with that, and we put that draft in there for you guys to look at. If you guys look at that and are okay with that, then we'll be able to move forward with incorporating that into the overall budget. Nothing changed on the final numbers. The numbers were the same, so we're in good shape budget-wise too.
Any questions?
Schedule still on track, completion date.
Yes, sir. Looking at, we're at this point right now, we're looking at the stages of when do we want to try to starting on units. We're looking out 3 or 4 months in advance. Probably sometime in November, we'll actually start firing up some HVAC units and try to make sure we pull all the moisture out of that building. So we're going through our sequencing as far as that goes. So we're looking out in advance. I feel like we're in really good shape for the schedule.
Where are we at on sales tax savings?
Right now, I think I'm at 400,000, but I have more in this Phase 2 that I haven't been able to get because I'm not under budget for it, but I'm going to increase that with this GMP. So what you'll see next from me is another deductive change order, giving sales tax savings back to the project and buying some more. So we didn't have the light fixture package in our first Phase 1, we have it in Phase 2. So once we get this approved, then I can actually go get the sales tax savings for the light fixtures. So I anticipate that building up. In the next, you'll probably see a deductive change order from me in August, and probably one in September, and maybe one in October. So we'll continue to build that. But right now we're at 400,000. We've kind of been waiting on that Phase 2 to increase it.
I was trying to sort of read through that Phase 2 report that was included in today's packet and sort of decipher some of that stuff, but it was stating that sales tax savings kind of goes into a contingency?
That's correct. Yes,
Is that
sir.
the way that works? And that contingency sits there just sort of maybe for unforeseen expenses, or if we go over a little bit here? Am I reading that, interpreting that correctly?
That's correct.
Or if you add scope to the project,
If we add something to it. Okay.
and you control the contingency.
The contingency would have to be approved by Greg, myself, and then the board.
Correct.
Anytime we touch that. But yeah, I'm getting a pretty good bit of contingency built up, so I'm happy where I'm. That's how I know I'm happy with my budget, because I'm building up some money there.
Any other questions? We really appreciate your updates, and everything sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is here in the public, and we want to welcome you all to this meeting. This is an opportunity that the school board has set aside for the citizens of Holmes County and others to address the school board. Now, I just want to remind you, this is not a question and answer period. It's not a political forum, nor is it a time for personal accusations or derogatory remarks to or about any school personnel. If you would address the board, we do have appearance records that are out front, and we've been doing this for several months now, and we do have several who wants to speak today. And we just ask you to limit your comments to not more than 5 minutes. And Mr. Williams, will you do the timing for us today? Our first speaker today is Sally Brock.
The violations of law that have been perpetrated by this school board are egregious. The fact that you people continue to violate the law displays the level of corruption rampant in this school system. School Board Policy 2.23, Section 10 states, any person employed by the school board who willfully violates any school board rule shall be subject to dismissal or such lesser penalty as the school board may prescribe. I am guessing that you would impose upon yourselves the lesser penalty, right? This board needs to begin acting honorably and ethically. You might make the argument that you did the right thing when you voted to accept the administrative law judge's recommended order in Susan's case. However, you had absolutely no intention of obeying that order. You couldn't even get a simple reimbursement right. It took 3 tries before her pay was correctly computed. Are the people in your finance department that incompetent? Or were they simply following orders? In the meeting that Susan had with members of the finance department, Shirley Owens was also present for some unknown reason. She asked why Susan would think that any of it was done deliberately. Are you kidding me, Shirley? After every illegal thing you have done regarding Susan, you actually have the gall to ask that? Your question was at best incredibly disingenuous. At worst, it was downright dumb. Your meetings are supposed to be conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, but you do not adhere to basic parliamentary procedure. You were given opportunities when Mrs. Coleman pleaded with you to rescind the illegal vote that you took on August 3rd, 2015 regarding Susan's involuntary transfer, but you have steadily refused to do the right thing. Ask your current attorney what should be done when an illegal vote is taken. Lapdogs do what their master commands, but you still have a choice. You can do what Eddie tells you to do, or you can make ethical, moral, and legal decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speaker is Susan Steverson.
Don't say anything or anything.
It has been nearly a year since I handed this school board a whistleblower complaint. I want to know what has been done with the complaint. Do you people even know what was supposed to be done with it? The current superintendent said the complaint was handed to the lawyer. Your former attorney, Luke Taylor, was supposed to assign an investigator within 20 days. He did not. Maybe he didn't know the policy or the law. Maybe Luke thinks that he'll suddenly know the law better as county judge, but I doubt it. 4 of you retaliated against me within 2 weeks of receiving the complaint by involuntarily transferring me to GAP. This is a violation of school board policy and law. Furthermore, when you forced me to transfer, you were required by the teacher's contract to provide a reason in writing. You've had almost a year to come up with some plausible reason, but thus far you have steadily refused to give me one. Do you have a reason other than that's what Eddie wanted you to do? Anybody? I've waited long enough. If you're unsure of how to word it, ask the assistant superintendent's son for help. At the very least, you should tell me why you have not or cannot give me the reason in writing. Next, the issue that caused some of my problems, attendance. I've been telling leaders in this school system since December 2014 that the schools are breaking state law regarding attendance. And what has this school board done about it? Last summer, you decided to define the word tardy. Wow. The problem wasn't that people didn't know what the word meant. The problem was they were ignoring it. In addition, excused and unexcused absences were not reported at Bethlehem or at Gap or at some other schools in this county. This is in defiance of state law. At no time was my son even required to bring a parent or a doctor's note to the school following an absence. This school board is required to devise an attendance policy that addresses excused and unexcused absences and tardies and includes penalties. It's a directive in both state statute and your own school board policy. I think the superintendent wants to place in the attendance section of the Code of Conduct the state statute regarding attendance. Really? Our county's attendance policy is that we need to have an attendance policy? That's ridiculous. Are you going to do your duty as a school board and devise an appropriate attendance policy? I doubt it. Item number 3. A job was posted for an English teacher at Bethlehem. I applied for the position by requesting a transfer. I was turned down for the position. According to the teacher's contract, the superintendent is required to give me a reason in writing for the denial within 7 working days. So I'll expect that response this week, but I won't hold my breath because you people ignore or disobey the teacher's contract on a regular basis. It still surprises me that this county's teachers aren't coming here in droves, angry at the fact that you won't abide by the contract. I've been told that practically everyone is too afraid to speak or stand up. I'm not afraid, and I never will be.
Amen.
I'm simply fed up with the corruption of this school system, and everyone sitting at this table, other than Debbie Cometz, is part of the corruption. If you continue to violate contracts, policies, and laws, you need to step down as board members. Anyone else who had violated as many laws as you people have would be in jail. I want the written reason for my transfer given to me today. I know you thought it would never be necessary because your intention was to humiliate me to such an extent and make me so miserable that I would finally quit. That's been the intention since my first suspension in December 2014. From what I've been told, Eddie made a campaign promise in the last election to get rid of me from Bethlehem. Well, he made good on that promise. He's also been exceedingly successful in making me miserable. At GAP, I teach nothing. I teach no one. I monitor students in a computer lab and help them cheat their way to credits using Edgenuity. I've become the antithesis of what I was the previous 28 years of my career. You board members need to consider something. When you align yourselves with evil, what do you think that makes you? I'll tell you. It either makes you an evil person too, or it makes you a fool. Which one are you? Shirley? Rusty? Look at me. Alan, what does it make you? And please don't accuse me of questioning your integrity. What integrity?
Thank you.
Susan.
Our next speaker is Ms. Janice Johnson.
Good job. Hello, I'm Janice Johnson, Post Office Box 414, Bonifay, Florida. And I have just a clarification I need about the campaign policies from the school board about campaigns. The qualifying period is over now, and it's clear who's going to be the candidates for different offices. And in my past history as an employee of the school system, I remembered several options available. I also have a copy of the board policies relating to political activities. I've asked 2 board members and kind of got divergent points of view on them, so I don't want to get embarrassed, and I want to abide by what your policy is as I go out campaigning. In the past, way back when I was teaching, candidates for any political office had the opportunity to come into the school system and hand out cards during staff work days, not when students were there. I, as a teacher, felt like sometimes that impeded my work progress. Secondly, then I remember times that candidates could go to and stand at the entrance or the exit of the buildings during, again, non-student days and hand out political campaign literature and greet the public. I've also known of times when they were able to put campaign literature, maybe flyers or whatever, in the staff mailboxes or treat bags or something like that. So I've just gotten a lot of different options that people have used. I don't know which of those are acceptable to the board, which are not. So I don't, as I said, want to get embarrassed, but I also want to use my rights as a campaign person to let people know of my positions and where I stand on issues, and not just in the school races, but there are a multitude of people that are running in different offices that probably need that clarification. I understand that you said there's no answer question in this, but I know you want to have a workshop prior to your next board meeting in August, and that's before school starts. So it would be, I would like to have some very concrete clarification prior to
the opening of school, or at least certainly during the 7 or 8 days, whatever teacher work days are, staff work days prior to students coming on campus. Do not intend ever to interfere with students or anything like that, but I do want to make it a level playing field for all candidates involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for making us aware of that, and we will take that into consideration and get back to you. Okay, our next item is unfinished business. Our master contract, Mr. Goodman.
You have before you the contract for the 2015 to 2018 time period. I think you guys went over it with Ms. Carmen at your June meeting. What we have tried to do is we have noted the changes from 2 years ago in green, and then the changes that occurred this bargaining period in yellow. While the stuff in green was agreed to, it was not implemented in the contract, so to speak, so we went ahead and implemented it actually in the contract. So you can see the highlights in green are from 2 bargaining periods ago, and then the stuff in the yellow is are the issues from this bargaining period. Some things to note on page 24, we made some adjustments to the differentiated pay. We tried to get them closer in line with 112, 22 statutes, and I believe, Carmen's not here, I believe that there was a note, maybe in your audit, about that as well. So we wanted to make sure that we were in line with what they wanted there. Also of note, on Schedule D, which is page 46, you'll see the increase in the adjustment in the base salary schedules there. So that's of note this year as well. Be glad to answer any questions that I can answer for you. And this has been provided to the bargaining unit. I believe the bargaining unit has approved the updates to the master teacher contract. The plan this year is going to be, Madam Chairman, to try to begin bargaining sooner than we have in the past. I know that I've gotten some feedback from some board members about trying to bargain earlier in the fall than in the spring. So we have made it a task. We're going to start that process here probably the end of August, early September, when we'll start that process this year and try not to wait so late.
Okay, does the chair hear a motion that we adopt the master contract for 2015, 2018?
I move we adopt the master contract for 2015, 2018.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Justice.
Motion.
Second by Mr. Williams. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a few questions. In our April meeting, I did say something about involuntary transfer. This is for the record. I was told by the attorney there was nothing in statute stating there was an involuntary transfer. But there is something in the statutes that, under management, that refers to collective bargaining. And that's what this is the collective bargaining. And we have it in our teacher's contract, as I stated in the previous meeting, is in here in our teacher's master contract. So why is it we're having such a problem with this involuntary transfer issue, if it's in here in our policy?
The best I can do for you, Madam Board Member, is to tell you that when I came on board with the bargaining, you were virtually done with bargaining this year. That is language that has been put on the table for review next year. I would suspect that that language will be amended to closer align ourselves with what I think the statutory intent is there. I can't speak to the problem because I came in at the end and that language was all but negotiated by the time I came on board. But I would tell you that will be a focus of bargaining in the upcoming year.
Well, I've researched a lot of different school boards in the state, and almost all of them mention involuntary transfer in their teacher's contract. All over the state of Florida, I've checked, and most all of them mention involuntary transfer.
Sure.
The next item, on page 14 of the master contract, it would be under teacher assessment, item A, it says each teacher shall be evaluated at least annually, but it does not say, Florida statutes 1012.34 says that if it's a new teacher, they will be required 2 evaluations, so that should be added in there, so we're aware of that.
We can ask for that adjustment, it's not gonna change the requirement of the statute.
Well, at least they would know, everybody could see it in here, it would be in writing, they wouldn't have to look it up in the statutes. I'd like for it to be amended, if you could, meet with them or whatever.
We'll have to call another bargaining session.
Okay. There was a couple of others on page 31. There was an error under item A. It says the board shall use, which should be use. There's a typo there, needs to be corrected.
Where's that at, ma'am?
Page 31, item A, the board shall use a laboratory instead of use.
I don't, okay.
Okay, and page 22, under the travel expense reimbursement, I cannot read the cents per mile. What is that supposed to be?
I believe it's a 4.
So it's increased from 37 cents to 47 cents.
That's my understanding, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then, on page 26, it says we are only making 40 copies of this. We used to distribute it to all of them, didn't we?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did we?
I can't tell you, that was a 2-year ago adjustment in the bargaining.
It's online too.
I think there was a cost and environmental issue there that they wanted to try to post it online and then provide 40, because I don't think that they were using all of them, but that's hearsay, because I wasn't part of that bargaining session as well.
And on the page 41, on the agreement that they have to sign, how can we say that it shall be effective July 1st, 2015, when that's a year ago?
You're retroactively implementing it. That's how you're paying them as well. You're paying them retroactively. That happens many times in bargaining.
And it's going to be dated as of
That's exactly
this
right.
year,
Yes,
but it's
ma'am.
going to go back.
And that's why you're probably going to pay them a retroactive check for the 15-16 portion of the contract. I think that check may have already gone out based on your new base salary. That's why we're going to try to get it earlier this year, so you're not looking that far back. Y'all have historically done these way late in the year and had to retroactively pay them.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Okay, are there any other discussion?
So what we would need to do based on her request, is we cannot approve the master contract today unless you approve it subject to the bargaining unit amending the article with respect to the multiple evaluations for new teachers, because I think you have a motion and a second to approve that as is. So we can rescind, amend the motion, we can go back to the bargaining unit, whatever the pleasure is, what we do today.
I didn't make the motion.
Mr. Justice, did you make the
I made a
motion? Would you like to amend the motion, or?
So let's amend the motion pending the addition, Mr. Attorney.
Okay.
Would you state that, how you want that to read exactly how we need to do that?
Yeah, it'll be a motion to approve the master teacher contract subject to the amendment. Looking for the page again. It was under teacher assessment on page 14. It'd be a motion to approve the master teacher contract for the 2015 through 2018 period subject to an amendment accurately reflecting evaluations for new teachers in Article 11, subsection A, is I believe what Ms. Coleman signed.
All right, so let's amend the motion pending the addition of the evaluation for new teachers in Article 11, Section A of the teacher assessment.
Okay, we have a motion to amend the master contract with the negotiations on the Article 11 teacher assessment. And Mr. Williams will second that motion. So this will be a vote on the amendment. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Comet?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Chair votes yes. Now we need to do the vote motion or
Now that I'll cover it.
Okay.
And I will bring it back and an update for the next meeting, make sure that the teachers bargaining unit has approved that amendment.
Our next item is facilities. And we have several bids. Mr. Brown?
Morning, Madam Chairman. Bring to your attention, what we have here are janitorial, custodial, propane, exterminators, grease trap pumping, fire extinguishers, garbage disposal, wastewater treatment. I will go ahead and point out the janitorial custodial supplies that we took the low bidder on almost every instance except in 2 or 3 cases. And in both of those cases, and if you have your little packet there, I'll point out why we didn't go for low bidder there. Item number 3, day paper was low bidder at $16. Unfortunately, the specs, they did not meet the specs that we put out. The spec was 1,000-foot rolls, and their rolls could not be guaranteed to be 1,000 foot because their paper was being produced in China. And those rolls apparently have not always been 1,000 feet, anywhere from 750 to 1,000. So we went back to the next bidder, in this case was JJS Supply, which would guarantee us 1,000 foot rolls, and that's who we've been using the last several years. In the back, there's a situation where we're using paper dispensers. The bid specifications for metal paper dispensers. The low bid was $29 and something. That was for a plastic dispenser. But the bid spec said a metal dispenser, that's why we went with $83 bid. But other than that, all the other bid items there are the low bidder in that situation. And then on the paper dispenser, some people say, well, what's wrong with plastic? Trust me, in the school setting, plastic usually gets broken the first day. That's why we went for metal on that. We'll go ahead and touch base with the propane. We have very limited participation in the bid process. The low bidder there is Tri-County Gas in this case, and they've just requested to a continuation of their current contract with us, which is more than fair and equitable. I believe it's 35 cents over whatever the jobber price they get out of Mississippi. In other words, if their price goes down, our price goes down. So it's not a fixed amount, it's based on what they're having to pay, which is fair to the supplier for us because they don't lose money if something goes on with the economy and the energy and things start to spike on us again. Exterminators is a renewal once again with cross-country exterminators. No one else bid on it. Grease trap pumping, I will point out a couple things there. It will be more expensive this year than what it's been in the past. There we have Davis Plumbing and Septic. The reason it's probably going to be more expensive is because of a change in state law dealing with septic tank pumping. In the past, a local septic tank company could have, for lack of a better term, their own dump site if they were permitted. They've kind of done away with that. Now they're required to go to a state certified waste management dump site. That's why the increase in transportation costs is going up, because Mr. Davis may have to transport as far away as Pensacola or Port St. Joe to dump our grease traps. So I talked to him yesterday. It could be lower than what it winds up being, but to safeguard his business, he gave us that bid price, which is about what everybody else was telling him, but he was the only one willing to bid on it. I don't know if y'all saw in the news back in June, there were some questions about this new law, and the law said at that time the chances are it would, would double the cost of having your septic tank pumped, and that's exactly what's happening, and it's being passed on down to us. So at that time, he's the only bidder, but I do believe it's a fair bid based on conversations I've had with other counties, because I really went out and solicited business from other people on this, and and most of them just didn't even want to touch it. The company we've used the last 2 years, I spoke to him in depth, and I haven't heard from him since then. And I know that he was having some issues toward the end in dumping his tanks, for lack of a better term. And I won't get into that because that's hearsay of some stuff I was told there, but I feel like Mr. Davis, you know, that's a very good company that we're going with, very good gentleman, and I think he will be a good choice to do that. Everyone else is the same companies we've used in the past with fire extinguishers and garbage disposal. I think we're fortunate with Waste Management that did not increase their price. They maintained it as the same. And once again, the thing with Waste Management is they kind of have a monopoly in our area. So other than what we do here in the town of Bonifay, who has their own deal, this will be affecting this outlying schools, Bethlehem, Poplar Springs, Ponce Lynn, and PDL Elementary. Other than that, this time I would ask the board to approve these bids, if at all possible. If you have any questions for me, I'll do the best I can answer them at this time.
On item E, the fire extinguisher doesn't have a statement or a rate in there, but I'll say it's the same.
Same as last year. And we've got really good service from this company. They're actually out of Mariana. The gentleman was actually here on grounds in the month of June doing the fire extinguisher here in this building. So, and I haven't had any complaints from the schools about him coming out and doing it. If he finds a fire extinguisher that's been whatever, instead of him taking that one and filling up and we have space, he'll take a spare one and stick it up in there. And that's not even part of his contract. But, you know, he makes sure we have one until he can bring one back, and usually it's a 2 or 3 day turnaround. I know with the company we used in the past, it was out of Crestview. Usually they take one to go refill them, and we'd see them the next month when they came back to do another service or something. So this young man really does a pretty nice job with it. Works hard. And he's a veteran also, whether that means anything or not. But actually it does in the bid process, but he was only one, so. Any other questions?
On the grease trap, so
Yes, ma'am.
we do this approximately 6 times a year.
We do it every 2 months. We'll start here in July, and then we'll do it 2 months from now. But also part of the bid specs and what will be in their contract is sometimes we have a situation where we got to pump it again, and that they would come in and it would be the same charge.
Do you need to make any comment, Mr. Brown, on the K8 construction contract that are?
Well, that was kind of separate from the bid things. I was going to get that after we did the bid thing. Yes, sir.
All right, you just went,
I went A through G, ma'am.
Okay, so we have heard the recommendation for Mr. Brown for the janitorial and custodial supply bid, propane for action, extermination for action, grease trap pumping, fire extinguishers, garbage disposal, and wastewater treatment. So does the chair be on motion?
Make a motion we approve items A through G.
Second.
That's the motion, Ms. Clement seconds that motion. Any further discussion? Call for a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Clement?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Motion passed.
I thank the board. The next item is item number 8. I think Mr. Hayes at Brooks had referred to a little bit earlier. It's basically us agreeing to go ahead and pay what we've kind of already agreed in the master contract. It's kind of done like this, and you guys help me out. When we got the money to build the school, the legislature does it year by year. By law, we knew we were going to get it, but we couldn't do anything with it till the state literally encumbered it and put it in an account over there sitting in our names at Tallahassee. So we couldn't do that contract where, hey, it's going to cost this and this and this. That's why it's broke down in kind of 2 phases here to meet the legal requirements of contract writing here in the great state of Florida. So that's what we have here. We basically already agreed to this in the very first contract we did. This is coming in here, you know, it's the same amount of money at the end. I don't think there's any major changes, Brooks, Greg. I mean, y'all throw it at me if there is. I looked over it last week. I looked over it again yesterday. You know, it's a standard contract. It really is. It's basically us doing what we're doing. Things have gone really smoothly with us on the financial side as far as tax savings. You know, we still have a few companies that send bills directly to us that actually should go through Culpeper. The only times we do POs through our system, but that's where we get tax savings because we're buying directly from a supplier If we were buying through the guy that's doing the building out there, he has to pay taxes on it. This way, we're buying the materials, we save the tax dollars on it, and the supplier doesn't have to pay the tax dollars, and we don't have to pay what's passed on to him, so that's where we get that. And I did not realize it until we were just probably about 5 months ago when I was looking at the numbers, that it is a significant portion of monies we save. Now, I know the question's out there. Well, what do we do with that money we save? Well, we will put it back into the school. You know, there's always contingency. We've been very fortunate that there's not been any big unforeseen things, but folks, we live in Florida, there's always a chance of catastrophic weather. And even though we have insurance and stuff like that, that's what some of this money in contingency is for. And there's always occasionally the possibility that something breaks before we finish and we have to go back and do it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jinx that. Brooks is going to get on to me afterward for this. But that's why we try to save this dollar. You know, just because we say we're going to spend $100 here, if we can save $10, let's save $10. I've heard that argument. Well, you budgeted $100, spend $100. No, that's not the way I do business at the house. And I don't think that's the way the board wants us to do business either. So when we can save money, we're going to save money. Not cut on quality, but save on money. That's the bottom line. Yes, ma'am.
Can you use any of that sales tax saving towards like the sewer and the water that we've got to get later on down the road?
Anything that's related to that construction facility, we can use that money toward. Yes, ma'am.
And I know early in the project, we saved a lot of money on dirt. Is that listed anywhere where?
Well, we saved money, but that was already tied into the construction, so it's not like, okay, we were going to put $1 million aside to move dirt. No, that was already factored in. So we saved money in essence that we didn't have to haul any dirt in there. We hauled a little bit of dirt in there because every now and then we find a pocket of clay, and by construction standards, we had to remove that clay and backfill it with the proper material. Sometimes it was rock, sometimes it was sand. Just, you know, it was. I think I saw the testers out there yesterday. They literally, every day, there's somebody out there testing soil for suitability for compaction, so we don't have a, 5 years down the road, we don't have a foundation settling on this. So that savings actually was already factored into the very beginning, Ms. Gomez.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we've heard the recommendation from Mr. Brown to amend our KA construction contract. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the amendment.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the amendment by Mr. Williams,
Second.
second by Mr. Justice. Any further discussion? Call for a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I thank the board.
Our next item is administrative programs, our 2016-17 Code of Conduct will be presented by Mr. Superintendent.
Yeah, you got the orange version of it in your packet, and the yellow are additions, the stricken things are deletions. Most of that's based on state law changes. So I recommend we approve the code of conduct of the 2016-17 school year.
Okay, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Does the chair have a motion that would adopt the superintendent's recommendation for the 2016-17 Code of Student Conduct?
I move we approve the 2016-2017 Code of Conduct.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second motion.
We have a second to that motion. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. On page 40, the graduation exercise was deleted. Why did we do that? It says when graduation exercises are provided each year for those who completed requirements by the end of the current year, including summer school. So why would we not leave that in there?
I think, again, Carmen, this was working on this more than I did, but I think that was taken out because there's so many graduation options now, it's hard to pin it down. You got virtual school, you got the gap between different things that kind of exclude those things. We're just trying to make it more inclusive.
I would think we would need something in there as a requirement for them wall. And because on page 42, it says if a student is enrolled in virtual school, that they must have all of their coursework completed and the final grade by the last day the seniors are required to attend.
That's been an issue for us in the past. We have that stuff finished. But again, I'm not sure exactly why they took this out.
I can address that because I was in that meeting.
Okay,
It's
you
there.
come to the podium,
Thank you, I'm
please.
sorry. We were debating on whether or not I could address it.
Okay.
It's in the beginning of that section, it was doubled, it was in there twice, and so once it was removed, where it was struck through, because, Melissa, do you have that page? It's on the copy that we have here, it's on page 38 at the bottom.
It's the very first item under graduation options and requirements.
And since it was repeated, it was struck through in the other place.
Under where it says middle school promotions.
It's on page 39. I
Oh,
think.
it's on 39 on
Okay.
yours, I'm sorry, on the one that we have. Okay, and that's the only reason that it was struck through. Okay, I just remember that it was in there twice, and instead of repeating it, we did a strike through.
What about
Save his
the
butt
grades
again.
right under here? Why don't we have anything under algebra?
We were waiting for
On page 39.
Under that same.
This is the copy, it changed from what was ever here
It's
in the second.
in the
column.
second column, it's 497.
Because it's two different date ranges.
Okay, so the first three within A, there's nothing applicable on the ACT, SAT, or CAT.
Correct.
That was everything, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? Okay, call for a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Comet?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Student handbooks, we have Ponce de Leon and Holmes County High School. Mr. Superintendent?
Yeah, you have the two handbooks, we've got two more coming, which will be here by the next meeting. These are the first two we received from the schools, it says these are individual school handbooks that deal with things that are germane to just that school for the most part. So I recommend we approve both of these.
Okay, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation for the Ponce de Leon High School and Holmes County High School handbooks. Does the chair hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the two handbooks that were presented, Holmes County High School and Ponce de Leon.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Williams to approve the handbooks. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Justice.
So all of the schools are not doing this. You just got certain ones.
Most of the high schools do, I think the middle school does one too, the elementary schools usually don't. It has to do like where to park, that kind of thing, parking is different schools, parking policies are different. It cannot undermine the code of conduct books. The code of conduct book is always enforced, this is just additional stuff that are specific things to each individual school. At one time, Holmes County High School was the only school that did it, because that's when I think Ms. Johnson started that, and I picked it up and went with it. Then Bethlehem picked it up, and so my son picked it up, and it's just kind of, because the schools are very different with their setups and their, that kind of thing, so. But nothing in it can undermine or supersede board policy.
Any further discussion? Take a vote. Mr. Justice?
Yes.
Ms. Comet?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. PAEC contract 2016-17. Ms. Price will make the presentation.
Morning, Madam Chair, board members. The first thing that I have for you this morning is the PAEC Florida Virtual School Agreement. When our students enroll in the PAEC Florida Virtual School franchise instead of the regular Florida Virtual School, it saves us about $175 per semester per student. Last year, we had 137 students that completed courses from PAEC Florida Virtual School at a savings of $23,975. As far as whether they'd enrolled in Florida Virtual School, it would have cost us $450 per semester. When they enroll in PAEC's Florida Virtual School franchise, it only cost us $275 per semester for these students.
Okay. You've heard Ms. Price's recommendation for the contract with PAEC for the Florida Virtual School. What's the board's pleasure?
I move we approve it.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Comance to approve. Any second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Williams. Any further discussion?
On those 135 students, are those